You hear me, and you hear me very well, because empires have fallen over the restricting of God's people of their right and privilege to worship. And the American empire is not immune to such a fate. Conspiracies have been dismantled when God's people have dared to sing in the face of attack. And this current conspiracy that is gripping our nation will be no different. And on behalf of the prophetic community, I'm lifting up my voice and saying we will not relent now. To America's executives, to its legislators, to its justices, we call upon you to now recognize that America's preeminence in the world in the last century has not been because we have been the best or the brightest or the most righteous among the community of nations, but America's prosperity has been in part because up until now we have enshrined in our national character and consciousness the rights of people of faith to serve and worship their God without governmental restriction or interference. And if you fail, Mr. Mayor, if you fail, Mr. Governor, if you fail to uphold this noble and divine principle and right to God's people, I prophesy to you, you will, like the Pharaoh, Ramses of ancient Egypt, behold, while your empire crumbles and your national wealth is plundered and given to another. Hear me and hear me very clearly. For I will not just sit here and talk. We're about to move. And if you dare to put your hands on us, the God who is God will answer by fire. And so I challenge you, line them up. Let the COVID testers get at the doors of the churches of America. Let them worship. And when they come out, test them and see if the COVID virus spreads. And if it does not, then stop trusting your scientific idols and your models. And let the God who is God be praised. Let the God who is God be worshipped. This lie of the separation of church and state that you have been able to perpetrate for a generation on a group of uninformed preachers is not what the Constitution says. It is not a separation of church and state. It is a separation of state from church. It says Congress shall pass no law respecting an institution of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. That is not a separation of church and state. That is a separation of state from church. That is the founders saying to the government that people of faith should have the right to worship and the government should not intervene. You're liars. I am calling upon you, preacher. I'm calling upon you, man of God. I'm calling upon you, woman of God. I'm not calling upon you to take some radical, uninformed action. I'm calling on you now in this season to seek the Lord. Because God the Holy Ghost is going to begin to give men and women who have ears to hear strategies and instructions. It is not the plan of God, it is not the will of God that the people of God be unable to gather and worship and praise their